and Tom, I don't know if I need to ask you for like a specific price target on Nvidia at this point, but that was the market leadership until this summer when it broke down. What do we need from it at this point?
Well, I mean, Nvidia is still at the center of the entire transformation that's coming with AI, and Nvidia continues to be one of the leading companies. So, from a long-term investor perspective, I think anyone should look at Nvidia's congestion and consolidation as opportunities to add if they don't have exposure. And then I think for anyone else, it's just a time to be patient because, of course, stocks don't just go straight up.
There are a couple stocks, however, moving higher. Nvidia is up about 3%. Yes, almost 3%. The company hosting a 3-day summit in Washington starting today. It's up 25% over the past month. That move has pushed its market cap back up above $3 trillion and passed Microsoft into second place behind just Apple.
The stock market is buzzing, and this time it's not for the faint of heart. In the dizzying world of semiconductors and AI, a seismic shift is happening. Advanced Micro Devices, Inc. is battling fierce headwinds and strategic pivots, leaving investors with a crucial question. Can AMD hold its ground against the technological titans Nvidia Corp and Intel Corp? Oppenheimer analyst Rick Schafer has been stirring conversation with his cautious stance on AMD, drawing attention to the broader dynamics of the semiconductor battlefield. Meanwhile, Nvidia is engaged in another robust narrative, investing heavily in AI, with its CEO Jensen Huang lauding OpenAI's soaring valuation. Intrigued yet? You should be. These developments are shaping an intriguing landscape where tech giants are placing billion-dollar bets on future gains. So, what's really going on in this rapidly evolving saga? Let's dive deeper into these thrilling turns of fortune affecting AMD, Nvidia, and beyond. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy.
So if you think Nvidia hits the skids or has some sort of trouble in the first half of next year, how do you trade it now?
I don't think you need to chase it. I think a lot of investors that I talk to want to own Nvidia. They want it in their portfolio, and those that are thinking in the traditional allocation approach are not thinking I have to have it all today. Having said that, I need to start buying it if I don't have it now. So pullbacks are nice, but ultimately, Nvidia is going to continue to be the dominant or a dominant part of the tech trade. But what Dan's talking about, I think, is really what it comes down to. The CapEx spend that we're going to see out of hyperscalers is what this earnings period is all about. And the irony is, of course, that those stocks may go higher as they talk about less CapEx and less spend on AI. And those are some of the names, frankly, that have reasserted themselves. I mean, look at the move in Meta. If they tell you it's the year of efficiency in AI spend, they've got all this other good news and things that are going for them. And one of the few that is pointing to AI revenue base. And I think it'll go a lot higher.
Rick Schafer, an analyst at Oppenheimer, recently raised eyebrows within the investor community with his cautious note on AMD's capability to ensure long-term profitability, particularly as the second horse in a declining PC market. It seems Schafer believes AMD is caught in a tough spot, like trying to dance in a rainstorm with both Nvidia and Intel applying the pressure, with GPU and CPU enhancements, respectively, making it hard for AMD to find stable footing. After all, competing in the tech coliseum against these giants might be the closest thing to trying to outpace Usain Bolt in a 100-meter sprint. Data shows AMD's revenue trends are somewhat stable, but they're battling falling margins in their gaming business, not exactly a trifecta of prosperity. Third-quarter sales are projected to hover around $7.6 billion, according to Schafer, a tick too close to fourth-quarter consensus estimates, proving that AMD needs more than a horseshoe of luck to increase its profitability against entrenched competitors like Nvidia, armed with its CUDA architectures, and Intel, with its robust ecosystem. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to the video.
While the big boys do indeed have a clue, we clearly have a lot of investors, or maybe traders, or maybe jokers, who don't know a Frito-Lay chip from a semiconductor chip. How else do you explain what happened to the stock of Nvidia today, which makes the kind of AI chips where ASML says there's no weakness? The stock plunged 4.5%, one of the worst performers of the day, as part of a broader semiconductor sell-off, even though ASML was explicit the companies like Nvidia are doing fine. It didn't matter. Now, tomorrow, Jeff Marks and I are convening our monthly CNBC Investing Club meeting, and I was trying to figure out a scenario where some of our favorite stocks would come down, so we might be able to recommend them at better prices at noon. I didn't think that the price break would come from a semiconductor equipment maker like ASML, which saw a hideous 53% decline in orders quarter over quarter. Truly shocking. Even if AI chips are doing well, they can't offset the weakness in the rest of the industry. But this gives me a chance to explain that the semiconductor stocks are really only as good as their end markets. Last night, for example, Micron Sanjay Mehrotra came on the show telling us that everything in the data center was on fire and that he sold out of the high bandwidth memory chips needed for AI. He also predicted a big PC refresh cycle aided by the introduction of AI-enabled personal computers, which I think will be used for the holiday season right into 2025. So, I think it's going to be so huge that I keep endorsing the stock of Best Buy, even up here. They've got a giant allocation of these machines. Some 40% of all AI-oriented PCs from Microsoft will go through Best Buy. AMD has exposure both to the PC and AI, which is why we used the weakness to buy some shares for the Travel Trust today. It was painful to do so.
The house of pain.
But we want to build a position into weakness, not strength. We want to get a better basis. That's how you do it as a professional. Now, we know from some recent surveys that many different telco companies are doing better, but they aren't by any means smoking hot. The Internet of Things and autos, they're just okay. Maybe they get better with lower interest rates, but I think there are better things to invest in. I certainly didn't want to take advantage of the sell-off caused by ASML to pounce on the other semiconductor capital equipment makers like Lam Research, very good company, Applied Materials, another company like KLA. They're all good, but they trade together. And if ASML's having such serious problems, you probably don't want to get involved in the part of the food chain that involves these companies, because they're going to go lower. But to go back to Nvidia for a second, this is a company with a plethora of opportunities, and it dominates all of them. Nvidia doesn't mess around with the semiconductor capital equipment makers. Its chips are made by Taiwan Semiconductor. We haven't really thought much about the equipment going into it. The Taiwan Semi reports later this week. Perhaps they can straighten us out on what's working and what isn't. Still, today serves as a really serious reminder that even the most bulletproof of semis can be brought down by others in its cohort, especially if it's in an ETF. If you can't tell a microchip from a potato chip, you probably would have sold the stock of Nvidia today the way so many did at 210, 205, 200. But if you've done your homework, you know that not all chips are created equal, and you're now getting an incredible buying opportunity once again in the AI-related semiconductor stocks.
Nvidia, on the other hand, is riding a different wave, one that's cresting high in the AI ocean. Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, took to the BG2 podcast, shedding light on his admiration for OpenAI, whose trajectory has mirrored that of a high-speed bullet train, a fact not lost on investors or the market at large. The podcast conversation, an engaging tete-a-tete between Huang and Altimeter Capital's Brad Gerstner, painted OpenAI as today's Google, circa its IPO days, but with twice the muscle in terms of revenue and weekly average users. Huang's commentary encapsulates more than mere admiration. It's an investment in an AI-driven future, something which Nvidia isn't shy to pursue, having financially backed OpenAI's shift towards profitability and beyond. The tale of OpenAI is a story of transformation and foresight. Initially a non-profit with the heralded ChatGPT, the tech company is tilting its axis towards a for-profit model driven by ambitious revenue goals. This move has seen backing from tech giants like Nvidia and others. OpenAI anticipates a leap from an estimated $5 billion in revenue this year to doubling that in the next, standing tall amid potential optimizations in tech and AI sectors. Beyond the statistics, a narrative of persistence plays out. AMD is not merely a bystander watching Nvidia and its AI ventures set sail. With its AI event highlighting the MI series roadmap, MI 325 on the horizon in 2024 and MI 400 by 2026, AMD continues its calculated chase for profitability. Management's reallocation of focus to the AI segment from nearly $0 to $4 billion underscores its proactive strategic pivot. Despite a tempered view on data center AI expectations, AMD is crafting a story still evolving, one bound by the complexities of semiconductor tech. In this tale of two narratives, AMD seems keen on starting Act 2 with a flourish. But as they say in the stock market, past performance is no guarantee of future results, except when it occasionally decorates the walls of analysts' meeting rooms as a friendly reminder. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Stocks was up 1.3% roughly. You had a pretty good day for Nvidia. I believe you're getting Micron results fairly
after the close.
After the
close. How do you read that, Mike, in terms of one day we care and the next day we kind of don't? I mean, again, for the part of the market that for much of the year was the driving force.
Sure. I mostly read it as, and this sounds really deterministic, but the market has kind of decided that we're comfortable with these levels. You don't have aggressive selling at S&P 57 and change just yet. And so on a given day, if the macro cooperates, if we have to rely on the handful of semi stocks that look like they're relatively oversold, you got this headline out of, not even a headline, just a story that Jensen Huang maybe is going to slow his sale plan.
Yeah.
Or stop it for now. That shouldn't really matter. It wasn't really a huge swing factor in terms of the value of the stock on offer for Nvidia. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good excuse for that to work. I think it's much more about, on a given day, it's either banks and small caps working or it's the Magnificent Seven. Banks and small caps working really relies on soft landing and Fed cutting rates. The rest of it just relies on the mood about, the long-term secular growth story.
The evolving storylines of AMD and Nvidia are nothing short of captivating, each string pulling eager investors closer to the epicenter of the tech and semiconductor revolution. AMD, with its gains of 12% year-to-date compared to the broader 30% rise of the PHLX semiconductor sector, stands as a resilient player under the shadow of giants like Nvidia's technological prowess and Intel's expanding comrade of hardware advancements. So, why should an investor consider AMD for their portfolio? The answer lies within the untapped potential of its AI roadmap and the strategic decisions aimed at resurrecting its competitive edge. The stock's current trajectory leans towards a positive outlook, bolstered by the company's innovative spirit and an industry that regularly turns tides faster than a Tesla, speeding into the future. Analysts project that the hard-fought battles and eventual triumphs in the AI saga will usher AMD to loftier heights. All eyes are on the fourth quarter performance, a harbinger of potential long-term gains. As the smoke from key industry skirmishes clears, one question lingers. Could AMD's nimble maneuvers outpace the titans of tech, restoring equilibrium where ambition and innovation walk hand in hand? Investors are encouraged to share their thoughts. After all, in the ever-evolving world of stocks, the richest insights often unfold through exchanges beyond numbers. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.